She's 22, he's 45, everyone's staring, everyone's judging, but she doesn't care. Because what she found in him she couldn't find in men her own age. And today I'm going to tell you exactly what that is. This isn't about gold digging, it's not about daddy issues. It's about psychology so deep that even the women experiencing it don't fully understand it. But here's what nobody talks about. The attraction isn't random, it's biological, it's evolutionary, and it's more common than anyone wants to admit. Let's start with the uncomfortable truth. Young women are hardwired to seek certain traits in men. Stability, resources, emotional maturity, protection. And guess what? Most 20-something guys don't have any of these. They're broke, they're immature, they're still figuring out who they are. But older men, they've already done the work. Here's where it gets interesting. When a 25-year-old woman meets a 40-year-old man, her brain doesn't see the age gap. It sees the confidence gap. He knows what he wants. He's confident in who he is. He's not playing games because he doesn't need to. And that confidence, it's intoxicating. But there's something darker happening here that most people miss. Young women today are drowning in a sea of immature men. Men who can't commit. Men who ghost after 3 dates. Men who live with their parents and play video games all day. So when they meet a man who has his life together, it feels like finding water in a desert. Here's the psychology that will blow your mind. Women are attracted to what psychologists call future potential. But here's the twist. With men her age, she's betting on potential that might never materialize. With older men, she's seeing actualized potential. The uncertainty is gone, but wait, there's more. Older men communicate differently. They don't text games. They don't breadcrumb. They don't ghost. When they're interested, they say so. When they're not, they're honest about it. For young women who've been tortured by the modern dating scene, this directness is revolutionary. Think about it. She's used to guys who take 3 days to text back. Then she meets a man who calls her. Actually calls on the phone like a human being. The contrast is staggering. But here's what nobody wants to acknowledge. The power dynamic. Older men have something younger men don't. Social proof, status, accomplishment. When a young woman is with an older man, she's not just dating him. She's accessing his entire world, his network, his lifestyle, his experiences, and yes, sometimes his money. But here's where people get it wrong. It's not about being a gold digger. It's about security. Young women today are more anxious than any generation in history. They're worried about careers, student loans, the future. An older man represents stability in an unstable world. But there's a darker psychological element that most people ignore. The father wound. Many young women grew up with absent fathers, divorced parents, emotional neglect. They never experienced what healthy masculine energy feels like. So when they encounter a mature man who's emotionally available, it fills a void they didn't know existed. This isn't daddy issues, this is daddy hunger. But here's the part that's going to make you uncomfortable. Evolution doesn't care about social norms. For thousands of years, women have been attracted to older men because older men could provide and protect. That programming doesn't disappear because society says it should. A 20-year-old woman's biology is screaming at her to find the best possible mate. And from a biological standpoint, a successful 40-year-old man is often a better choice than a struggling 20-year-old boy. But society tells her this is wrong. Society tells her to date her age. Society shamas the attraction. But you can't shame away biology. Here's something that will shock you. Studies show that women are most attracted to men who are about 4 years older. But here's the twist. That number increases as women get older. By the time a woman is 30, she's attracted to men who are 7 to 10 years older. But young women, they're often attracted to men who are 15 to 20 years older. Why? Because the maturity gap between 20 and 40 is massive. The gap between 30 and 40, not so much. But there's something else happening here, something psychological. Younger women are attracted to men who can teach them things about life, about business, about the world. Older men have experiences that younger men simply don't have. They've traveled, they've failed, they've succeeded, they have stories. And women are attracted to men with stories. But here's the controversial part. Young women today are more sexually liberated than ever before. They know what they want. And what they want is often incompatible with the inexperience of younger men. Older men know their way around, they're confident, they're skilled, they're not fumbling around trying to figure things out. For sexually aware young women, this experience gap is attractive. But wait, there's something else. Older men don't have the ego issues that younger men have. They're not threatened by successful women. They're not competing with her. They're not trying to prove anything. This emotional maturity creates space for the woman to be herself. But here's where it gets complicated. Society judges these relationships harshly, especially when the woman is very young. People assume she's being taken advantage of. They assume he's predatory. They assume she's naive. But what if she's not? What if she's making a calculated choice based on her values and desires? What if she's tired of immature men and consciously choosing mature ones? Here's the uncomfortable truth that feminists don't want to hear. Some young women prefer traditional relationship dynamics. They want to be provided for. They want to be protected. They want a man who leads. And older men are more likely to embrace these roles. But there's a psychological reason why this dynamic works. It's called complementary attraction. She brings youth, beauty, and energy. He brings wisdom, stability, and resources. It's a trade that's been happening for millennia. But modern society says this trade is problematic, that it's exploitative, that it's unequal. But what if both parties are getting exactly what they want? Here's something that will challenge everything you think you know about these relationships. They often last longer than same-age relationships. Why? Because they're based on complementary needs rather than similar interests. But there's a dark side nobody talks about. These relationships often have an expiration date. As the woman matures, the things that attracted her to older men become less important. The maturity gap shrinks. The excitement of being with someone older fades. And sometimes she outgrows him. But here's the part that's really controversial. Some young women use older men as stepping stones. They benefit from their resources, connections, and guidance. Then they leave when they no longer need those things. Is this manipulation, or is it just smart strategy? Here's what bothers people the most about these relationships. They challenge the narrative of equality. If relationships are supposed to be equal partnerships between equals, what do we do with relationships where one person has significantly more resources, experience, and power? But maybe that's the wrong question. Maybe the right question is, are both people getting what they want? Because here's the truth. Some young women genuinely prefer older men. Not because they have daddy issues. Not because they're gold diggers. But because older men offer something that younger men simply cannot. Actualized potential. And in a world where most men her age are still potential rather than actualized, can you really blame her for choosing differently?